We'll embark on a transformative quest for spiritual truth with Path of Faith as we explore the mysteries of faith and the boundless love of God. Love is not an easy event. Although we possess it as a gift within us, you know from your life and practical experience how much it hurts to love, because that is love. Love is an event that becomes eternal within us by its very nature, and love cannot conceive of unhappiness. Where there is love, there cannot be unhappiness. There can be suffering, but not unhappiness. In life, we have two possibilities. We either suffer the pain of loving and are happy, or we suffer the pain of lovelessness and are unhappy our whole lives. That's why Jesus once went up a mountain to speak to his friends about the great meaning of happiness. And surely the disciples were expecting a magical formula, just as we often hear today in the world. Formulas for happiness that are absolutely easy. One thing unsettles me about this formula for happiness. How can you understand that someone can be happy while crying? How can someone be happy in a moment of hunger? How can we reconcile two realities and find happiness in them? How can an apparently unhappy situation, like your pain, your tears, make you understand that this tear, this pain, is the source of human happiness? The beauty of life often lies not in what we can see, but in what we can see beyond the physical eyes. Only those who have delved into what comes before happiness can understand true happiness. Because human life is concrete. It gains meaning as we dive into the past to know the true future. We can only talk about joy if we have known sadness before. We can only talk about consolation if we have known despair before. If you have not yet discovered what truly makes you happy or fulfilled, it might be because you have not yet delved into the mystery of your sadness, for example. Perhaps you have not yet delved into the mystery of your suffering and have extracted nothing from it but disappointment. Life is like this. If today you wanted to recount your life and discover how much you have grown in your story, if today you wanted to make a report of your life, to recall who you are, to tell the world who you are, all you need to do is recount everything you have already suffered. Human sufferings are very similar, only the address changes. As my mother always said, each person in their own place suffers their own share. If today you had the opportunity to say who you are, you wouldn't know how to say it without including everything that has happened to you, that has marked you, that has defined you, everything you have suffered, everything you have let go, everything you have buried, all the life story that has passed through your days, your home, your family, because there is no concrete human being outside the experience of suffering. And everything you had to commit to, everything you had to fight for, everything you had to reconcile within yourself, there is your identity. There is your mark. There is your face in the life you have dedicated yourself to, in the loves you have loved, in the children you have raised, in the sleepless nights to keep that child alive. Only those who knew how to fight can overcome. We are, in time and history, the sum of everything we have been able to prepare. But it is not suffering for suffering's sake. When Jesus presents us with a way of being human, a way of being man and woman, he is showing that life is only possible when we manage to turn suffering into redemption. If you have to walk 30 kilometers, you need to take a step. The suffering of the journey is worth the joy of arrival. There is no resurrection without Calvary. There is also an interesting story. It is said that the American eagle, as time passes, its claws become curved, its beak becomes curved. It loses its hunting power because the claws can no longer hold the prey, and the beak can no longer eat properly. At that moment, after having lived a good part of its life, it has to make a decision. It retreats to the heights, to the rocks, to the cliffs, and there it undergoes a painful process that consists of beating its beak against a rock until it starts to hurt, bleed, and eventually fall off. The eagle needs to lose the beak that no longer serves it, and it is painful. Once the beak falls off, a new one starts to grow as if a child were developing again. And the process is not over yet. When the new beak has grown strong, it begins to remove its old claws. With the new beak, it starts to remove the claws that no longer serve it because they are curved and can't hold prey. If it continues with those old claws, what happens? It starves. It no longer has the characteristics of an eagle. It is an eagle, but an eagle without power. After completing the process of removing the claws, new, strong, young claws begin to grow. And still, the suffering is not over. Instinctively, it knows it needs to remove its feathers because they are old and it needs new feathers. Once it has a new beak and new claws, it starts removing its feathers one by one to wait for the regeneration process. It seems that it takes 6 months hidden in the cliffs to undergo this process. With a new beak, new claws, and new feathers, the eagle can live the same amount of life it has already lived. It's as if it starts living again. Have you ever thought about how fertile nature can be to help us understand the true meaning of the Beatitudes? Because there are many moments in our lives when we come to a situation where either we undergo the process of loss to start anew, or we die as we are. When we are not able to react to life, when we slowly give in, when we no longer perceive life within us, when we feel proud to be an eagle, but are actually an eagle without the power to fly. Eagles, the very meaning of strength, of struggle. Every Christian is a potential eagle capable of soaring, capable of overcoming obstacles. Christianity strengthens us for that. Yet we still live crawling and scratching like chickens. We are potential eagles, but we live like chickens in backyards. Why? Because we have not yet had the courage to face true suffering. There are 2 ways to face suffering, 2 ways to face difficulty. Either we face it head on, to overcome it, enduring the pain of the fight, just as the eagle endures the pain of removing its old claws, its old beak, changing its feathers, or we will spend our lives lamenting that we can no longer hunt. We either face the suffering of redemption, this suffering that transforms, which is the daily decision of waking up and deciding, today, God wants me standing. Today, God wants me alive. Today, God wants me fighting. Or we will succumb a little more each day, becoming more apathetic, more lifeless, thinking we are eagles when we are merely eagles in appearance, not yet transformed by the restorative power that life demands of us. We still have not discovered the strength in the specific things that God asks of us. The Beatitudes are here to demonstrate that we can only reach the beauty of the future if we know how to live the renunciation, the sacrifice, the struggle of the present. You experience this in your life. How many young people today, for example, are facing the great difficulty of getting into university, not passing? It's not because now the entrance exam is presenting itself as a monster. It's because the whole educational process was lived carelessly by the vast majority. From all of us at Path of Faith, thank you for being part of today's discussion. We value your input, so please share your thoughts in the comments, show your support with a like, spread the message by sharing, and subscribe to stay connected with us on our journey of faith.